Android 12 is coming out for smartphones now, and that means all of the different OEMs are releasing their versions of the new software. Oppo is actually the first company to get their version of the latest Android build out to their phones, and thus ColorOS 12 is here on my Oppo Find X3 Pro. Actually, it's really nice to come back to the Find X3 Pro because it's still one of my favorite phones of the year, and now it will feel refreshed because of the interface's updated looks and a few new features that already come on this robust take of Android. I've used it for a little while now, and I'm here to give you an overview of all that is new. So let's get past the really cool Find X loading screen and jump right into it. This is Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? Here's a look at ColorOS 12. Some disclosures real quick. This video is sponsored by Oppo and ColorOS, who provided an early test build of ColorOS 12 for me to check and share with all of you. Also, because this is an early build of the software, there are going to be some features that will not be available right away and will come later. I'll let you know when that happens. Quite a lot of what we expected from the stock version of Android will be included in ColorOS 12, and it does have a lot to do with its namesake. But even before we get to that, it's clear that Oppo is putting in the work to make sure that their interface has the kind of intuitive controls and navigation that are the hallmarks of Android. This is due to an updated UI that Oppo dubs inclusive design. Important elements are more easily readable, recognizable, and accessible. Google Discover is still over on the side to the left of the home screens, and then there are the quick toggles. These quick settings buttons are quite a bit larger, helping to ensure that tabs hit their target easily without too much fuss. And the same actually goes for the settings menu, which can be sometimes a convoluted mess of important settings and extra features, but with ColorOS 12, the list has a cleaner layout and categorizes things in more easy to follow ways. Namely, many of the extras that you might be looking for are all under their own menu called Special Features, where you are greeted with yet another well laid out listing of the extras that Oppo have baked into their version of Android. One thing I do have to commend ColorOS 12 for, though, is how much of the stock Android experience they've let just be here. Typically, we would see OEM versions of existing applications, for example, and while they could be fine, the redundancy can be a little bit annoying. In this case, there are the familiar parallels. I already mentioned Google Discover, but you can also just swipe up from the corner and you have access to Google Assistant. Oppo also kept the Google-built call and messaging apps even down to their icons, as you can see right here. And then ColorOS 12 keeps the stock Android 12 privacy features, including things like the privacy dashboard and indicators that tell you when a camera is being used, and then of course prompts that alert you to any apps that might be sharing your location. But as we have been moving along in the interface, you see various splashes of color all over the place, from the icons to the general design elements that include the settings menu. All of this can be customized, again going into the settings and going over to personalizations, where again you get a clear menu telling you of all of the different areas you can change up. It's here that you'll see one of the main Android 12 features appear, which is color customization based upon your wallpaper. After you select a wallpaper, just head down to Colors and then do Wallpaper Color Picking. It is here that it will show you your wallpaper, and you can actually drag some of these elements around so that you can match up all of the colors in the UI to the wallpaper that is selected. And you can already see the changes in the various elements up here. That way everything will match up to the most visual part of your personalization process. Of course, you have a bunch of other places that you can change things up to your style, including the always on display, which is still one of my favorite things to mess around with. The selection of screens and elements that you have here in AOD 2.0 has expanded, giving you more freedom to make one of the more practically useful features of Android and of course ColorOS even more aesthetically pleasing. There are plenty of options here. But with the level of personalization that is available to ColorOS, you'll be able to set up what is essentially your daily workspace to look the way that you want to. But what about actually working in that space? Well, that's where some pretty cool features come into play. If you have followed me for any amount of time, you know that I'm all about having media playing in the background while I'm doing other stuff. That might take the form of, like this, YouTube picture-in-picture, for example. But when it comes to multitasking on ColorOS 12, you have other options. Let's just use the Play Store as an example here to show off the floating window. Floating window is a feature that returns from previous versions of ColorOS, but now it's actually easier than ever to access. While you're already in the app you're working on, just swipe up like you're going to the recent app screen, and as you hold there, you'll see floating window at the top. Once you drag up far enough, it'll ask you to release, and then you have a window there easily available for you to keep an eye on and to float among your workspace on top of anything else. Not all applications will work with this particular multitasking feature, but in those cases, maybe the good old split screen can come in and be your multitasking way. Now, another efficient tool that's here is an easy place to access certain functions and apps. That's where the smart sidebar comes in. Right over here on the side is a small little area that you just swipe over from, and you get this bar that will suggest frequently used applications or give you quick shortcuts to key functions. One of them would be the screen translate. This is one of the coolest features that return from previous ColorOS releases, where you can take a screenshot either with this shortcut or with a 3-finger screenshot gesture. You then hit translate and all of the text in the screenshot is recognized and then translated. There are other ways that ColorOS helps keep the phone feeling efficient, whether it's one of Oppo's mid-range offerings or flagship devices like the powerful Find X3 Pro that I've been showing off in this video. The phone manager gives you access to a number of different facets of the phone, making it a good go-to spot when you want to check in on anything sensitive like privacy settings, storage management, and various other important things that you can just optimize with one touch of a button. And in that same vein, if you head over to the battery settings, Oppo have included a one-tap power-saving feature right up here that automatically analyzes your phone usage and the battery drain so that it can make the best calls for longer battery life and better performance. You simply have to hit any of these various settings, and you might not even realize that some of these things could actually help you get more battery life, like changing the refresh rate to 60 Hz or turning off the always-on display. These are all things that you can do in order to save some power. The thing is, there are definitely times when you want the best possible performance, like when you're gaming. Now, while this flagship device might have the high refresh rate screen and it makes everything feel and look so smooth and fast, ColorOS 12 is already looking and feeling pretty snappy with its updated animations and optimizations. That gets taken a step further with what is called the Quantum Animation Engine 3.0, which takes into account your actual inputs in order to dynamically change what you're seeing and perceiving. Everything from how frequently you swipe to how quickly those swipes are dictate how the software renders things like screen scrolling and how things move after a flick of your finger. Sure, that helps the UI feel even more appealing, but then let's say you get into a demanding app, like a game. That's when the AI system booster kicks in. It analyzes your usage of especially power-hungry apps like games and makes sure that system resources are being allocated to that foreground program. So while earlier we were talking about multitasking with floating windows, when you do need all of your attention to be on the task at hand, ColorOS 12 will give you all the support it can. I keep talking about gaming, but there's yet another layer that supports it called GPA 2.0, which is another analytic that works in the background to maintain high performance, but not so much to overload and thus heat up the hardware. It's actually pretty cool. Based on the load the game is taking right now in the game, the AI in GPA 2.0 predicts what might happen in the next 5 seconds of that very gameplay, adjusting settings like the frame rate so that the GPU and the CPU don't get loaded too hard, all in the name of keeping the phone you have in your hands, maybe in claw grip, from becoming uncomfortable to hold. So obviously when it comes to high-powered tasks like gaming, having these multiple layers of support means that in key moments the phone will remain reliable. But one of the main takeaways from the performance side is that for everyone else that's just using ColorOS 12 for general daily tasks, you know you're definitely covered. And now we can finally check out one of the marquee features of ColorOS, and you're about to see it right now. This is my Emoji. This is Oppo's take on 3D animated heads that take advantage of the same tech that Oppo use in their smartphones for face capture, portraits, and face unlock. Now, this is a big feature that won't be available right away for ColorOS 12. It is meant to come out by around December, but considering that the emoji can be used for a bit of fun and can actually be set as your always-on display, there are quite a few possibilities. The emoji creation app you're seeing here is still in beta, where you have a lot of different aspects to customize. Here, I'll show you. We have hair, brows, eyes, and so many different options in each one. So, once you're ready to talk in your personalized emoji, you can actually do the recording from the same exact app, and that is what I did for that previous segment you just saw. What I really enjoy about the ColorOS 12 enhancements is that it takes a lot of what we expected to be great from Android 12 and then just builds upon it. Certain features like that wallpaper-inspired color picker take cues from the stock Android release, while something like floating windows literally adds a whole new layer to the multitasking experience. Of course, some of the enhancements that Oppo built into ColorOS 12 are specific to their own tuning and the hardware that their software will be on, and that's why certain aspects like the AI system booster and the phone manager just mean that you can maintain reliability as maybe your devices get older, or you can eke out better performance from the more mid-range or budget-friendly smartphones. It all just comes together to a well-thought-out and feature-packed version of Android that will continue to get better as those updates roll in, and more fun as features like the Emoji continue to grow. For more on ColorOS 12 and other versions of Android that are on the horizon after the release of version 12, subscribe to my channel. Let me know your thoughts on ColorOS 12 in the comments section down below, and drop some likes on this video to let me know you want to see more dives into various editions of Android 12. With all that said, I'm going to go ahead and call it on this one. Thank you so much for watching. Please take care of yourselves and each other, and enjoy your tea, everybody.